Thank you and good morning. So our charity supports patients and families that are affected by vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, of vascular EDS for short. 740 is the estimate across the UK that have been that we think have got the condition. So my background, first of all, started off as a petrol pump attendant on £1.50 an hour, which was a start to be involved with customers, etc. I then moved on to sales consultant, manager, general manager within the organisation, eventually sales director. But 25 years with Toyota, so that is my background from an experience point of view. And we're always taught through that journey that there's always a better way. When my daughter was diagnosed and the way that that diagnosis was carried out, that's basically what I've adapted. There was a better way to do than the way they did it. So that's a screenshot there with Annabelle on the top right when we just started the charity back in 2013. We had the car stickered up ready. Me messing about with pigeons, a lot slimmer back then. But we did a lot of good things throughout those years in terms of my leadership within that organisation. We were the first business to sign up with the Armed Forces governance with Simon Weston there in the background. But why Annabelle's challenge? That's my daughter Annabelle. She was the youngest in the UK at the time, which caught the medics out, because usually you get diagnosed with this condition in 30s, 40s when something medically significantly happens or somebody sadly passes away. So to actually catch somebody so young knocked them sideways, because even at the point of going through the diagnostic criteria, they said, we're absolutely convinced she hasn't got it. And then to be delivered the news a week before Christmas in 2012 was a game changer, not only for us as a family, but also for the Diagnostic Service. There was no dedicated charity out there. We did have, and we still have, EDS UK, but that focuses on all types of EDS. But when it comes to the vascular type, which is the life-threatening and horrible type, there was no real dedication to it. At conferences, it was always the last session on the last day, 30 minutes, and I thought that was not right. So eventually, that was a trigger point for us that we needed to set up a charity that was dedicated to this condition. There was no support out there. There was lack of research, lack of awareness. And from a diagnostic point of view, it was literally, we got the letter in clinic, we'll see you in 12 months, and that was it, out the door. We weren't signposted to any particular clinicians that we needed to get on board. It was literally back home that day with that letter, and where do we go from here, apart from Googling it and being absolutely scared of the condition. So our strapline, so I've moved away from Toyota now, is our challenge to find a cure. So if I can fix it for Annabelle, we fix it for all of them. Quite a tall order, because I think we're a long way off the cure, but in the meantime it's all about improving quality of life. From a journey point of view, so when I was working for Toyota leading up to when we found out that Annabelle had got the condition, I was obviously 100% committed to the job that I was doing, with the company that I was working for. But as the years went on and more people started to get in touch, my focus and attention started to drift towards setting up the organisation. And I think the pinnacle point in the middle where the crossover was when we planned to do the first ever worldwide conference for the condition. And I think at that point, and where the NHS then got behind us from a clinic point of view, it was time to move on. So whilst there's the sort of the crossover point, I think from an employment point of view, they could see that I was losing focus. So where I weren't giving them 100%, that was a problem for them as a business. And for me, it was an opportunity to take the charity forward. So I then made a conscious decision that we would go 100% for Annabelle's challenge, and gave up work, which was not easy, to say the least. So in 2013 we set up a campaign with our PR consultant. We managed to get on ITV, national press, radio, so we got good coverage, I think, because she was the youngest in the UK and it's life-threatening and all the things that are associated with that. It was a good story for the press, so that sort of kick-started us. A year later, 10 members joined us representing 8 patients. It was that year in May that we registered as a charity. On the basis that it would always be free lifetime membership to join the charity and be a member. And our three aims, and still are, which we set back then, was education, research and support. So that is fundamentally what we focus on. A year later we launched Reds for Veds, a social media campaign which is basically wear red, take a picture, selfie, share it on social media using the hashtag. Jesse Lingard got behind it at Manchester United, the members got behind it. We're in our 5th year now, and the campaign actually makes money in terms of merchandise sales, etc., and donations, which we use to fund research. A year later the membership went up to 70, and more national fundraising was going on in schools. Then we increased dramatically the year after because a condition of coming to our conference, you had to confirm that you were a member of the charity. So that's where we peaked in terms of the numbers, and 176 now patients on. And a game changer in clinic, I was always feeding back to them the day that we were diagnosed with Annabelle, and it was that letter. And what's changed now is we've got a nice glossy pack, a welcome pack. I don't know if you can call it welcome when you get this condition, but you get the pack, and in the usual horrible diagnostic letter. However, you now get an emergency blue card, an emergency leaflet that you can present in A&E, school information booklet, which we didn't have back then, medical alert membership, and also a leaflet about Annabelle's challenge. And at that point the consultants will say you need to get in touch with this charity. That's your ongoing support, as well as us as genetic counsellors, and that's the blue card that they give for A&E, and that's a direct result of us working with them and constantly feeding back to them that we need to make it a better experience for patients that are getting diagnosed. So in 2018 the membership went up to 188. We did our first ever family retreat weekend with 30 families attending. It was the year that we got the Queen's Award for voluntary service, thanks to all the volunteers that support the charity. And also in that year we carried out a survey across our members to find out what exactly they wanted from the charity. And we devised a three-year strategic plan off the back of the peer mentoring programme. Nick was my mentor, and through that plan now we've implemented exactly what the patients and the family members want over the next 3 years. So that was us getting the Queen's Award, Her Majesty, and Bella proudly collecting it from the monastery. So that brings us up to date now, and we've currently got 285 members, 367 patients across the world that are registered with us on our database. I'm now involved with Clinic Direct, so when a patient goes to their joint EDS clinic for their cardiology appointment, I'm also at that clinic, so if they want to speak to me directly, I've got direct contact with new patients as well that do not know about Annabelle's challenge. And our reaction time now is within 24 hours. If there's a concern, if they want an ambulance marker put on their address and they're struggling to do it, we can react straight away now. We now fund research, which we never thought we were going to do, or at least it was well down the line in terms of our planning process. And we've launched the family support programme. So from a research point of view, we've now got 5 projects going across the UK. The first one started in October at Northwick Park. We've got 2 more to come on stream in the next few months, and we've also got one in the United States that we're collaborating with. And we've also been allocated 3 student genetic counsellors to do barrier to care. So all different projects that will help the community going forward. From an education point of view, we do talks in schools, speak at conferences. We're involved with the genetic clinics to get more people referred to us from other genetic clinics that are not the EDS service. We've got a marketing plan in place now to give us some structure, and we've got a conference coming up in May this year. And then from a support point of view, the family support programme is all about how we support those families going forward in terms of management, putting care plans in place, ambulance trackers, working with schools and Senko. We're about to launch regional support groups because we're now in double figures in certain regions across the country. We've got a free phone helpline that's been going over a year now. that helps people that have not only diagnosed but people that are going through that journey. The joint clinics that I'm involved with now, we've got set up a VED steering group which is comprised of people that are diagnosed with a condition or parents. I've also got 3 genetic counsellors on it, so as a team of 10, anything that we do going forward now is bounced into the steering group so that we can get direct feedback really on what matters to the community rather than what we think is right for the community. And we've also taken on a patient coordinator, so Christina brings together anything that the community wants in terms of referral into the diagnostic service or just general help. And then from a volunteering point of view, since I've taken over and gone 100% with a charity, our fundraising income mix has dramatically shifted from the early days when we started, where it was kind of 50-50, where we were going around knocking on doors and we were asking the community to get involved, whereas now on the back of the survey that we carried out and the needs of the community, we put it back to them to say that we actually need funding for this. And as a community, when you're doing your fundraising, you know, it costs money to put on all these activities. So the shift has dramatically changed now. So nearly 90% of our income comes from the wider community with vascular EDS. But it's quite embarrassing that we're at 14% when you're like that, but that means that we're freed up now to actually deliver what they want, and we get the fundraising from them. We are applying for grants. It is difficult. We don't get any NHS funding. So basically every pound that we raise is directly from the community or people that want to support the community. And then from a financial aspect, year on year we've grown, but since we made that conscious decision to change the direction of the charity and me take over, the income doubled, and we're on target to break the 100 grand barrier for this year at the end of March. So I think being totally dedicated to it, it does give you that drive to really get involved in terms of delivering the support and also raising the funds that are needed to drive that forward. And then from a member's point of view, we've got a closed Facebook group. We have a newsletter with, I think, is a fairly decent open rate, but it's gone up on the back of taking that patient coordinator on board, because she's managed to cleanse the database, get it in a really good condition, whittle out those that were suspected of having it but not confirmed. And since we've tidied it up now, we've got a better response in terms of people actually looking at what we're sending out. And then on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, we've got a good following there as well. So across the UK, of the 272 patients that we support, 77% of them are within the EDS service at the 2 clinics, which are based at Sheffield and Northwick Park, London. So we've got 115 at Sheffield, and in London 94. The rest are from the other genetic clinics outside of the service. I can't see us going past 80% because there are logistical issues for some patients. Those that are right up in Scotland probably don't want to come down to Sheffield for a clinic appointment, so we're looking at maybe rolling out remote dialing at some point. It's just getting that past the NHS at the moment. But the big thing now is, although Annabelle was the youngest at the time, she's not the youngest anymore, and more children are getting diagnosed. So we've now nearly got a third. It's heading towards children that are diagnosed with this condition, which is great because we can manage them going forward, rather than if you, for example, get a teenager that's diagnosed and suddenly telling them that you can't do football anymore because it's dangerous from a contact sport point of view. If we can get them really young, there's better outcomes for them. And then from a mapping point of view, that's where all our patients are sort of dotted around the country, right up in Scotland there, and as far down as Jersey. From a challenge point of view, a year ago I received a message from a patient that was in a dark place. I put the call into our genetic counsellors. What do I do with this? I've had this patient that's come forward, and the question back to me was, what's your safeguarding policy? Haven't got one. Never come across it before, didn't even think I needed one. So it put me in an awkward place, and I felt I'd let the community down personally, that I hadn't got such a thing in place, that I would potentially let down this patient because I've got nowhere to go with it apart from ringing Sheffield for some help. So since then, I've put a safeguarding policy in, I've done my safeguarding training, we've changed the privacy policy to alert people that should anybody be at risk of harm, we would, without their consent, go to the relevant authorities. And I think that was a challenge for me because, one, I hadn't got a policy in place, never looked at it, and I'd potentially put somebody at risk in our community. So that was one of my leadership challenges in terms of probably complacency. The charity's going at a rate of knots, and are we sitting too comfortable that the income's coming in, the programmes are kicking off, the community's growing, but yet we hadn't gone back to basics and looked at in terms of where we were in both in policy and protection. So that was a challenge for me that I had to overcome, and thankfully we've done it now and the policy's in place and it does work. Because recently we've had another issue where we've managed to flag it up as a safeguarding issue and it's gone straight back to the GP and the GP's dealing with it. So we know that they're being looked after now. From a skills point of view, from my previous employment, we were always brought up in the spirit of Kaizen, which was continuous improvement. So off the back of that safeguarding issue, it's constantly going back now and looking at what we're doing and can we improve, talking to other organisations and charities for advice, other local businesses. We adapted SMART, which was embedded from my previous employment, but also as part of the peer mentoring programme, which has helped massively in getting us to where we are today. We look at root causes. Marketing's a big one to sort of keep the brand going in terms of Annabelle's Challenge and the Reds for Veds campaign, very much into teamwork. One area of leadership that I did struggle on and came back on my leadership programme was I wasn't good at delegating. So I was doing it all on my own, thinking I was doing it the right way. I've now learned over the last 2 years that you need to delegate and get some of that weight off your shoulders and have other people to take on some of the responsibilities of not only running your organisation but delivering support. And just getting on with it. And obviously hands-on, we're always going to be hands-on as parents or people connected to the condition. Personal connection, obviously as Annabelle, is always going to be the heart of what we do and the heart of the charity. But what she's enabled us to do now, from being the youngest in the UK at that clinic in Sheffield, she's now managed to bring both clinics together through Annabelle's Challenge, and the three of us work so close together. And even on the way here this morning, I've had an email to meet with the commissioners in June to talk about what we do and how the service is actually changing as well from when it started back in 2009. And it's going more into research now, which when Annabelle was diagnosed, it was literally a diagnostic service. From a positive point of view, I'm now involved with those clinics directly. We're very much community focused with the steering group. We've got the confidence to grow now. We're setting up the support groups. But from a negative point of view, family time has suffered, because you're going 100 miles an hour with your charity and the community that you're serving. And you sometimes forget about the family, and certainly we've got 2 older boys that are not affected by the condition, and we forgot about them and the emotions that go with it. So we started to plan days out with just the boys and not Annabelle, and Annabelle goes to grandma. So always think about family and give that time. Death, we suffer from death with this condition. Thankfully not often, but I was at a funeral last week. Mentally it gets to you. It's described as a ticking time bomb because we don't know when something medical is going to kick off, or worst case, they pass away. So mental health, you need to, as a leadership of your charity, take that on board, because who is looking after you? I'm lucky because I'm so close to the clinics. I've got the genetic counsellors all over me, so when they got wind of the funeral, they're on the phone to me. When I'm in clinic and we're doing patient case studies, there's one always watching me for reaction. So I'm blessed in that way, but if you haven't got that, you should think about how do you go and talk to people, because when you're at the top of your organisation, where do you go? And the motivation is the guys that we serve. So this was the Blackpool weekend, and this is what drives me. And obviously the kids, because the younger, we can give them a better outlook and quality of life. And then I don't know if you can see that clearly, but that was a message I got last week from somebody in Texas. So because we reach out we're not just UK, very much backing what we do, and that was at the point where I was going to our clinic to do a presentation, so the timing was quite right, and a bit of a motivational boost, because you're going at it all the time and wondering, are you having a positive impact? And it's nice to get some feedback. So that's me from Annabelle's Challenge.